Hi friends, welcome back to another ukulele tutorial. I've been working on a fingerstyle arrangement of Silent Night and I'm so excited to share it with you. This arrangement is for two parts. There's a melody part and a harmony part. So if you'd like to play solo, you can play the melody, which is very straightforward and beginner level. If you'd like to play this song as a duet to play along with me or a friend or in a group, then you can learn the harmony part as well as the melody part. The harmony part is more difficult than the melody, and it will give you great practice playing notes that are higher up the neck. As for the structure of this video, first I'm going to demo both parts played together so you can hear how it sounds as a duet. After that, I'll play the melody part by itself and then the harmony part by itself, so you can hear how each sounds played on its own. And then we'll finish with a short tutorial on both parts. Now that you've seen both parts played together as a duet, let's see the melody part on its own and then the harmony part on its own. You can come back to these sections to play along with me, playing the same part or playing the other part as a duet. This song is played at a nice slow tempo, so I've played all of the demos in this video at 62 beats per minute. voted #1 by my patrons from a list of many wonderful holiday songs. So thanks so much to all of you who are supporting my channel and participating in the song polls. If you're enjoying this arrangement, please give this video a thumbs up. And if you're new to my channel, then welcome. I hope you enjoy my arrangements and my teaching style, and I would love for you to subscribe. Next, we're moving into our tutorial. Both of these parts are arranged for low G tuning. If you'd like to download the tabs, you can do so from my Patreon page, along with my book of tabs and my songbook covering all of the songs that I've shared in my tutorials. You'll find the link down below in the video description. Now moving into our lesson, we'll start with the melody part. The melody is very straightforward, so I'm just going to highlight how to play the chords that are played on 3 or 4 strings. In the melody, the first chord that we come across that has more than 2 notes is at the beginning of measure 5. Here we're picking all 4 strings, and I have my middle and index fingers on the 2nd fret of strings 2 and 4. Keep in mind that in this chord, the open first string is our melody note. In measure 7, we're going to a partial G chord. Here I have my ring finger on the 3rd fret of the 2nd string, and my index finger on the 2nd fret of the 3rd string. We'll play strings 2, 3, and 4 together. And keep in mind that the 2nd string is our melody note. At the beginning of measure 9, we'll pick the open 2nd, 3rd, and 4th strings together. Our melody note is the 2nd string. And then in measure 10, we're placing our ring finger on the 3rd fret of the 2nd string, as this is our melody note. Here we're going to pick strings 2, 3, and 4 once again. Measures 13 and 14 are identical to measures 9 and 10, so we'll play these same 2 chords at the beginning of measures 13 and 14. In measure 17, we're going to a D chord, so we're using our ring finger, middle finger, and index finger on the 2nd fret of strings 2, 3, and 4. We're going to pick all 4 strings, with the open first string being our melody note. In measure 18, we're moving from D to D7, so we're keeping our D fingering in place, and we're adding our pinky to the 3rd fret of the 1st string. Here we'll pick all 4 strings once more. In measure 20, we're moving to our standard G chord. Here we'll play an arpeggio, or a broken chord, through all 4 strings. And then our very last chord of this melody is our partial G chord in measure 23. Here I have my ring finger and index finger on strings 2 and 3. We'll play strings 2, 3, and 4 once more. The harmony part is more difficult, so we'll walk through how to play the harmony part step by step. For our harmony part, we're starting on the 5th fret, so I have my index finger on the 5th fret of the 1st string, and my middle and ring fingers on the 7th fret of strings 2 and 3. In measure 1, we'll pick strings 1 and 2 together twice. And then in measure 2, we'll pick strings 2 and 3 together. Then we'll place our pinky down on the 7th fret of the 1st string to pick the 7th fret of strings 1 and 2 together. And then we'll lift our pinky up to pick strings 1 and 2 together again. Measure 3 is the same as measure 1. And then in measure 4, we'll pick strings 2 and 3 together, then our open 4th string, and then strings 2 and 3 together again. In measure 5, we'll place our index finger on the 5th fret of the 2nd string, our pinky on the 9th fret of the 1st string, and our middle finger on the 7th fret of the 4th string. We'll pick strings 1 and 2 together, then string 4, and then 1 and 2 together again. Measure 6 is played the same way as measure 5. In measure 7, we're going back to the same fingering that we used in measure 1. We'll pick strings 1 and 2 together, then the 4th string, and then the 3rd string. Measure 8 is played the same way as measure 7. In measure 9, we're moving up to the 7th fret. You can think of this as our G chord fingering, but moved up to the 7th fret. So I have my index and middle fingers on the 7th fret of strings 3 and 1, and my ring finger on the 8th fret of the 2nd string. Here in measure 9, we'll pick strings 1 and 2 together, then we'll pick the 3rd string, and back to strings 1 and 2. In measure 10, we'll place down our pinky on the 10th fret to pick strings 1 and 2, then the 3rd string, and then we'll lift up our pinky to play strings 1 and 2 again. In measure 11, we're moving back to the same fingering as measure 1. Here we'll pick strings 1 and 2, then the open 4th string, and then strings 2 and 3 together. In measure 12, we're going to stay with strings 2 and 3, then the open 4th string, and then strings 2 and 3 together again. Measures 13, 14, and 15 are played the same way as measures 9, 10, and 11. When we get to measure 16, we'll play strings 2 and 3 together, then the open 4th string, and then the 3rd string. In measure 17, we're playing the 5th fret of strings 1 and 2, then the 6th fret of the 3rd string, and then back to strings 1 and 2. Now I'm using my index finger to play the 1st and 2nd string, and my middle finger on the 3rd string. If it's more comfortable for you, you can use your index and middle fingers on the 1st and 2nd string, and your ring finger on the 3rd string. In measure 18, I'm placing my index finger on the 5th fret of the 2nd string, and my pinky on the 9th fret of the 1st string. We'll play strings 1 and 2 together, then the open 3rd string, and then back to strings 1 and 2. In measure 19, we're going to bar all 4 strings across the 7th fret and place our pinky on the 10th fret of the 1st string. We'll pick strings 1 and 2 together, then string 4, string 3, and in measure 20, we'll play an arpeggio through all 4 strings. In measure 21, we're going back to the same fingering we used in measure 1. We'll play strings 1 and 2, then string 3, and back to strings 1 and 2. In measure 22, we'll use the same fingering we used in measure 18. We'll play strings 1 and 2, then string 2, and then strings 1 and 2 again. In measure 23, we'll use our index finger to play the 10th fret of strings 1 and 2 together. We'll use our middle finger to play the 11th fret of the 3rd string. Then we'll pick strings 2, 1, And then we'll place our pinky down on the 14th fret of the first string to play our final arpeggio. If you're feeling generous as we're moving into the holiday season and you'd like to support my channel, then check the description for an easy way to buy me a coffee. I hope you've enjoyed learning this beautiful duet arrangement of Silent Night. Happy holidays, and thanks for watching.